Patrick Cook here. Hey, welcome to another Mandelbulb 3D animation build out. This is project time-lapse number 2. What I wanted to do in this particular animation build out project, I wanted to create a very structured Mandelbulb object. All right. I don't want something that's too organic. I don't want something that's too structured, too symmetrical. All right. So I have chosen a couple Mandelbulb formulas that I think are going to give me a very interesting, but yet a somewhat organic Mandelbulb graphic. And I think this is a pretty good basis to go on. Now, I'm going to do the alternate. All right, I'm not in terms of the hybrid mode. I'm going to do the alternate. I want Mandelbulb to alternate between these two formulas. Now that basically means that you're going to have Mandelbulb will write the object of one formula to the screen, and then write the second formula to the screen, and then write the third formula to the screen, and they'll alternate. All right. I talked all about this in the Mastering Mandelbulb Formulas tutorial series, which was series number 2. So, okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of looking for a good Mandelbulb object, a pattern. I don't want something that's extremely detailed, but I want something that's interesting. Okay, I want something that will give me a good sense of depth, a good sense where the lighting will accentuate the patterns. All right. And so I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe I want to try adding another formula. So I just added the Menger 3 formula. Now that really modified the first 3 formulas that I had, and it gave me a new pattern that was applied to the whole Mandelbulb object, which I like. Very often what I'll do is I will remove the colors from the scene, which is what I just did there. I used a preset that effectively took the colors away, because I feel that when the colors are removed, I get a good sense of the pattern. And you can kind of see here what I mean. As I modify the properties of the formulas, all right, the patterns is what I'm looking for. And the patterns can get very detailed. And when you don't have the color involved, you are able to see the patterns better. Or at least I am. So just kind of continuing with this, the whole idea of finding an interesting pattern. Now, I'm not entirely certain what I'm going to do. This is an animation build-out. I'm not entirely certain what my animation is going to look like. But what I am looking for is a Mandelbulb scene that will give me a variety of shapes. Shapes that I can fly around, that I can fly through, that I can fly by. Okay? So I'm looking for a variety of shapes in my Mandelbulb scene or object. Now, and so I'm experimenting with the properties of the various formulas. I'm changing the scale a lot because I'm more interested in how the the shape is varied. And I want the Mandelbulb object large enough where I can animate through it, but I want it also interesting enough where every flight path that I choose to take will give me a new Mandelbulb scene. All right, so that kind of a varied pattern is what I'm looking for. I want something that's interesting, varied, different shapes, different sizes, to give me a really good playground for an animation. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just looking for a good place to start the animation. I don't want something that is boring to start the animation with. I want to get close up there and see whether or not I can get a good starting place, an interesting place. So when the animation opens up, the viewer says, "Oh, that's interesting." You see, and so to get some of that open area there, we think of it as sky, but in reality, it's just there's just no object there. It's transparent, but we can think of it as a sky area. So I'm still working on a good starting point for my animation. Now, I haven't fully defined the colors and the lighting of this Mandelbulb object. I am still looking for shapes and a good starting position. And so I'm still modifying the properties a little bit. Again, I'm trying to look for some interesting scenes, not just the starting scene, but I'm thinking about the whole animation. All right, so we just kind of look around a little bit, see whether or not the Mandelbulb object is holding its own. I don't want to set up a scene and then look to the left 45 degrees and find out that the whole scene just fell apart. So I'm looking for a consistent scene that I can animate through. Now I can pay attention to the coloring. I got a scene that I think will be a nice animation venue. Now I'm looking for the colors. Now, I'm being lazy right here. I'm just allowing the Mandelbulb3D application to generate colors at random. I'm not doing this to make the software be the artist. I'm doing this to give me a good place to start. That's all I'm doing. I just give me a good place to start, and I'll take it from there. I don't want my colors to be too garish. All right. I don't want my Mandelbulb object to yell at the viewer, but I want it to be interesting enough. And I also want to be careful that the colors hold up nicely as I animate through the scene, which is what I'm just checking right here. Now, the navigator is not going to give me true color, color rendering, but it'll give me an idea. So now take a look at some of the lighting. Now, there's an awful lot of holes and shapes and various patterns and curves in this whole Mandelbulb scene. Lighting is going to be a little tricky, and I want to be careful that I don't have too heavy of shadows down in the depths. I want to be careful that that as I move through the scene, that my lighting fairly well holds up. You'll notice over on the lighting tab, I've got relevant to object is checked on, because I want the light source to stay locked to the image. not have my light source follow the camera. If I have the light source follow the camera, I've got shadows flying every which way, changing, modifying. I don't want that. I want the camera to move with the lighting locked to the Mandelbulb object. That's what that relevant to object means. Okay, so now I'm looking for formula number 5. Can I use this A box VS wavy to give me even more changes and interest and shapes in my Mandelbulb formula? Again, I don't know if that's going to work for me or not, but the beautiful thing about the Mandelbulb3D software is that you can try things, and if you don't like it, you just try something else. And what you're trying to do here is to find a Mandelbulb scene, in this case, that I feel confident that I will be able to animate through, move my camera through, and always bring into the scene something interesting, something unique, and something entertaining. The only way you're really going to know is to put formulas in there, modify the properties, see what happens. If you save periodically, you can always revert back, which is exactly what I just did. I didn't like the formula number 5 that I had put in there. What was it? The A box VS wavy. I didn't like it. So I basically threw it away by calling up my last saved M3P. Now I'm just back where I started. Well, where I was. And I've decided that I'm going to pretty much stay with this particular Mandelbulb scene. You notice there, what I did is I threw some red. I did a harsh red on one of those sliders because the red tells me where that color is. Color is very related to the z-axis. All right, so I use the red to tell me where that color falls within the z-axis of the scene. Now, all right, I'm thinking I've got something here that maybe can almost pass as a landscape, and I'm kind of searching for maybe a kind of a rust color, a little darker. I don't want everything dark, but I do want to use coloring to be able to create a kind of a contrast between the light and the dark. So that's what I'm doing here. All right, so I've got like a rust color band that is falling more toward the foreground in related to the z-axis, okay, of your Mandelbulb object. All right, there we go. It's kind of pull it a little bit more forward, kind of soften it up a little bit. I'm looking for a realistic brownish or rust color. I don't want this rust color to overwhelm the scene. I want it to be interesting. I want a nice color contrast. I'm not trying to make this a landscape, but it kind of seems like it could be a landscape with weird stones that have been created by the nature of this alien planet. All right, back to my lighting. And you notice I still have relevant to object checked on. I don't want that light to move with the camera. That'll be all kinds of problems if I was to allow the light to move with the camera. And there's a good application for that, but not here. All right, so I'm doing a save. Time to turn my attention to the animation. And all right, Get myself all squared away for an animation. I did the first save before I had any keyframes. All right, that's a good starting position. All I'm going to do right here is just slide to the left. I want the landscape to just kind of roll past me. All right, slide to the left, a little bit slide up, kind of like I'm going up the slope there with the camera. All right, so there we go. So now it's really just a matter of kind of moving through this scene. I'm not going to spend any time, I'm not going to spend much more time on the colors, on the lighting, and on the object itself. I think that's pretty good. And this is a fairly easy animation because I've got lots of crevices that I can fly through, objects. I can get real close to things. I can fly forward and up and forward and left, and I can have a grand old time. I'll do a quick save here before I get too deep. I'm already at 21 keyframes. All right, once you get set up, you can really go quick on the keyframes. But I don't want to get too far in because fixing keyframes in the middle of 50 or 100 or 300 keyframes is really tough. You don't want to go there if you can avoid it. All right, so that's a fairly nice preview. I'm just all simply sliding to the right, a little bit of up. I saw enough. I was happy with the preview that I was getting. Now to continue with keyframing. Now, the beautiful thing about this particular Mandelbulb scene is that it doesn't really matter where I go. There's an interesting scene everywhere. So I can go forward and look up and look right and rotate. And just about everywhere that I fly my camera is an interesting Mandelbulb object. So that's the beautiful thing about creating a Mandelbulb scene that is large, that is varied, that has inconsistent patterns, okay, and also lots of open space background, because that gives you a good opportunity to fly through it. And that's what I'm doing. I'm just I'm just saying, well, hey, what if I go up? Let me look up. Let me rotate a little bit. Let me go through that hole. Once you're set up with your Mandelbulb scene, it's relatively easy to navigate through it. But when you're setting up your scene, you want to make sure that you're creating a scene with animation in mind. All right, that's key. With your animation in mind. All right, so here we go. So we're just doing a preview of all the keyframes first to last. Good, good. That might have sped up a little bit more faster than I wanted. Oh, there we go. Nice fly through. Oh, yeah. It's almost like we're going to hit some object and then we turn just in time. Okay, all right. Well, we stopped there midair and then we backed off again. Flying in reverse is interesting because Mandelbulb objects come into view from behind you, which is kind of interesting. All right. I think that the stops could be better. There we go. Nice rotate. You see, that's the beautiful thing. You can fly all over this scene here and almost never really find a boring spot in your animation. All right. All right, so here's the full render in the preview mode. Now this is low resolution preview, so I'm not interested in quality right here. I'm interested in animation movement. Okay, pretty good, pretty good. I don't know, those stops midair, I don't know, that could work. There's like 3 or 4 stops reversing direction. Interesting. Nice rollout, right open up into credits. Very good. Well, so we'll look at it again. Okay. All right, pretty good, pretty good. I think all in all, it's pretty good. I'm not really sure about the colors. All right, let's take a look at the quality now. Kind of mess around with the ambient. Take a look at the colors. I do have I do have color cycling turned on. I'm not sure if that's going to bother me too much. Here, I'm just kind of looking for the right the gamma, the contrast. I'm looking for ambient shadows. I want details to be viewable. All right, down in the depths, in the dark areas, because all that ambient shadow type stuff will give the viewer a good sense of depth and interest. All right, and now let's just apply everything, all the changes I just made in lighting. Apply it to all the keyframes. Now it's time to take a look at the quality. I usually will fine-tune the quality after I got the animation. All right, because Mandelbulb gives you a way to be able to apply all of that quality to all the keyframes, which is what I'm just doing right there. All right, and I'll just take a look. I just kind of randomly pull up the various keyframes up onto the main window, go full rendering. All right, I'm looking for whether or not the DE stop was applied to the keyframe. I'm looking for how well the shadows, the gamma, and the lighting hold up in each in multiple keyframes. All right, so use the animator's post processing, not post processing, the animator's processing tool to apply the settings to all the keyframes. Now it's a matter of setting up for the final rendering. All right, do a save on the main project, the M3P. All right, and start rendering. So there we go. All right, there we go. Nice rendering, pretty quick. It looks like it's rendering at about, what do we got, about 5 seconds per frame. That's pretty good. What do we have, 5,700 frames in there? That should render out pretty good. All right, put a decent computer behind it. That's probably 20 hours to render the whole animation. And here it is. This is our animation. That's pretty good. The detail's good. The colors have varied. The lighting is remaining fixed as I animate around. That's good. The coloring is pretty good. Nice. Look, we're just flying up now. I don't know, some of the shadows were kind of moving around. I think that could be done better. I'm not really entirely certain if I like the background, what we think of as the sky. There's a nice drawback there with very interesting Mandelbulb patterns that are coming into view from the floor. I got a stall there. It's not too bad. A change of direction, looking down now. The shadows are kind of wandering around. I think that could be better. The detail's holding up pretty good. All in all, I think this is a pretty good animation. I think that's pretty good. I would go back and I would try to get those shadows to stop walking across the Mandelbulb object like that. All right, nice open up into the sky, or nice place to run the credits. And that's it. I think that this is pretty good. Thanks for joining me. I learned. I hope you did too.